Yeah, hi everyone. I hope you're well today, wherever you are, whatever time it is, morning, noon, afternoon, evening. Time for some Dharma recitation of the Buddhist verses, then some meditations, and the Dharma Talk. Of course, today we are continuing our discussion on the 8 verses of thought transformation, and we're up to verse number 4 now. So let's do the chanting. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Om Gati Gati Parasam Gati Bodhi Soha. Tayata Om Gati Gati Parasam Gati Bodhi Soha. Tayata Om Gati Gati Parasam Gati Bodhi Soha. So now time for some meditation. Bring your mind inside your body and let's release the tension from the body. Starting at your feet, working your way up your legs, up past your waist, up to your shoulders, and then down to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head. So let's take a few moments to do this now. And now scan your body again, just in case there's some leftover tension that you can release. Now bring your mind initially to the tip of your nose, and the object of the meditation is the breath. Anapanasati, mindfulness of breath. Sati means mindfulness, and anapana means the breathing process. Follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose, passes your throat, passes your chest area, all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. That's all you have to do right now, is keep your mind placed as seamlessly as possible on your breath. If you'd like to add the extra technique of counting the breaths to 10, then do so. 1 in-breath, 1 out-breath is 1, and so on. But if you get distracted while counting towards 10, go back to 1 at that time. I'll share with you again that normally when I practice meditations myself, I don't focus on the breath. On the counting of the breath, just on the breath itself, into the mind. But when I teach, including this class, or when I was teaching the face-to-face classes as well, if we were doing meditation, then I would count the breath. Because basically, I work it out, basically it's about 10 in and out breaths is 1 minute, and so on. So I utilize that technique to be able to understand or know what time it is for us. So it's up to you what you practice or how you practice. So if any thoughts arise or mental activity arises, don't cling to it or grasp at it or try to force it away or even deny it. But simply let it go naturally by replacing the mind back onto the breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by replacing your mind onto your breath more brightly. Breathing in, breathing out. Not too tight, not too loose. Not too much, not too little. Instead, the middle path. So let's practice like this for a little bit in silence. So now we can feel very pleased with ourselves, engaging in this short practice session. And let's fill ourselves with universal loving kindness, utilizing the visualization techniques of filling our whole being with the white light or white nectar. Or if you like, you can just go with the feeling. This universal loving kindness includes friendliness to ourselves right now, forgiveness, acceptance, respect, appreciation, gratitude, all of these good qualities, truthfulness, etc. Fill yourself with so much universal loving kindness that it now radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, family and friends, filling them also with the universal loving kindness, having the wish that they have happiness and the causes of happiness, that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and that they are peaceful. Now let's radiate further and further. Now include strangers, those people that you're indifferent towards, filling them with the universal loving kindness too. May they also be happy, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and may they be peaceful. Now also include those you may regard as enemies, those people that you find very difficult, or you don't condone their behavior, and so on and so forth. It could be a singular person or a single person, it could be groups of people. Fill them with the universal loving kindness too. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they be happy and have the causes of happiness. May they too be peaceful. May all of these people be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now let's include all living beings initially around our immediate area, those born from wombs, from eggs, from moisture, through transformation, whether they live in the waters or on the land or fly through the air. May they all be happy, free from suffering, be peaceful. Now further and further distance-wise, let's radiate our loving kindness out throughout our whole state or county, and to all of the living beings that abide here. And throughout other states and counties throughout your whole country. It's almost like a tidal wave of loving kindness radiating out further and further. And now also include other countries, those you're familiar with and have an affinity towards, those you're indifferent towards, and those for whatever meaning of reason you have a negative feelings towards. So your loving kindness pervades throughout this whole planet, throughout all of the waterways, the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, all the way down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. And now let's radiate beyond this planet alone, throughout the whole solar system. And all of the solar systems throughout the galaxy. And all of the galaxies throughout the universe. Until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. This immeasurable loving kindness that is generated in your own heart. Rejoice. Feel really pleased. And now let's switch techniques to the Tong Len, or giving-taking meditation, to develop more and more compassion, to really have the Bodhicitta mind, or develop the Bodhicitta mind, generated. Chip away at our ego, or this idea of a self, and our attachment to it, and to all objects as well. Freeing the beings from suffering and bringing them happiness. Generate this bodhicitta mind, this mind of great awakening, the altruistic intention to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings and leading them to do likewise. So do your best to visualize infinite beings in front of you now. And initially we will take their suffering upon ourselves. So coming from the hearts of the living beings is black smoke, and it comes and enters into and melts into your heart, dissolving your ego and your self-centeredness, freeing them from the suffering and freeing you from this ego and self-centeredness. So that's as we breathe in, and then as we breathe out, visualize giving the white light from your heart center, and it enters into the heart centers of all living beings, giving away all of your goodness, all of the things you find pleasing, all of your good karma, merit, and making them happy, freeing yourself from attachment and aversion. So now let's practice like this with the inhaling and the exhaling for a little bit. So once again, we can feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in the practice. And now let's do the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So, verse number 4. Of course, last week we had part 2 of verse number 3. Prior to that, I think we had 5 parts of verse number 2. And verse number 1, we had 7 parts. Of course, the first verse, as well as the second verse, did cover parts of the other verses as well. Okay, so the first verse, we bring to mind that all living beings are precious, more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. And we will constantly practice holding them dear to develop this genuine appreciation for others, to develop this compassion for others, and etc. Then, of course, the second verse, we put others above ourselves to develop a mind of equanimity, to let go of our biases, develop an equanimous mind. And then the third verse, to practice the Dharma, the root core of the Dharma, to purify the mind from any negative emotions that arise right at that time. And then now we move on to this verse. Now that we've given up our biases to a reasonable degree, now that we've kind of balanced things out a little bit, now that we've internalized our practice to a certain degree to purify our minds, but also keeping in mind this bodhicitta intention, radiating it outwards, practicing outwardly for the benefit of others. Now we go even further to let go of aversion and repulsion, okay, in the fourth verse. So whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear. So normally we would turn our back on people that really displease us. And for good reason sometimes, okay? It's important to protect your mind and protect yourself physically as well. But in saying that, the true practitioner of bodhicitta, of the altruistic intention, we try to find a way to help them. Try the best we can with our limited abilities right now. And so you can think about in the Mahamangala Sutta, the Buddha's teaching on great blessings. The Buddha mentions first, the first blessing is to not associate with bad people, basically, with fools. Now, this is the beginning of the practice like this. But once you move on to practicing and developing, generating this bodhicitta, you should engage with these people, but only after you have worked on your own mind to be strong so that you're not affected by them. We don't want to be affected in a negative way by others. We want to benefit them and at the same time give up our biases, give up our aversion, give up our pride that could lead to arrogance, thinking we're better than others. Remember that we all have Buddha nature. We're all equal in this sense. And also, we all are ignorant right now, and we have a certain degree of attachment and aversion, etc. Okay, so we all, as human beings, we all have this human body, that kind of works in the same way as each other's bodies, other people's bodies. We all have these organs and etc. Okay, so we're equal in this sense. Okay, maybe we behave better than people that behave badly. Yes, that's right now. So we should utilize this and be a good influence. Once again, I'll repeat one of my quotes from a long time ago. If you see good in others, let it be you. If you see bad in others, don't let it be you. So if you see good in others, learn from it, pick it up. If we haven't got the good qualities to the degree they have, then improve ourselves, If we see bad in others, then don't soak it up ourselves. But if there's anything we can do to help them to give up these negative qualities and behaviors, then we should do so. Okay, but don't be too hard on yourself. Okay. So this verse refers to the special case of relating to people who are socially marginalized. It's a good way to put it, utilizing His Holiness the Dalai Lama's phrasing there. Okay, socially marginalized. That's better than saying, for instance, somebody who's a criminal, isn't it? Or somebody who behaves badly. Or if we don't understand a certain person's state of mind, things like that. Perhaps because of their behavior or their actions. They could be bad behavior, bad actions, or could just be confused behavior and actions, not the norm as such. If you think of people that are destitute, maybe living on the streets, maybe even behaving badly living on the streets, because many people living on the streets, it's a really sad situation. They shouldn't be like that. And maybe they've made some bad financial choices in their life and things like that. But actually, they're not much different to us. Still looking for shelter. We have to have the shelter, yeah? We have to have food, water, clothing. If ever you come across people like this, the destitute, please help them. Even just with a smile or with some food, water, with some clothing, with some shelter, if possible. People's bad behavior, like I said before, if you can influence them to behave better, then do so. But at very least, be a good influence by you behaving well, engaging in good deeds, actions, words, and thoughts behind them. People's appearance, sometimes, in certain circles, there's, maybe people like to sort of associate with people that look like them. Maybe everybody they associate with is in wearing nice suits. Maybe they have the financial position where they can buy nice suits. And then somebody else is not wearing that on purpose, maybe, or just because it's all they have. Quite often people are marginalized because of this type of thing, because of their appearance, maybe their hair, maybe their complexion, things like this, okay? Maybe skin color. This happens a lot in the world, unfortunately, with these preconceived ideas, with this, what I call prejudging, the root words for prejudice, which gives rise then to what is called racism, things like that. To do with different races, to do with different colors, to do with different foods, even different football teams. You have football teams. I barrack with this football team. That one's terrible, and then they go into the matches and they fight each other. It's terrible. This is sort of giving in to differences and prejudices. I kind of went off a little bit then. Also to illness, people that are sick. I remember when I was living in Europe in the 80s, the AIDS pandemic came along and the AIDS disease. And of course, not a lot was known about it in the beginning. So a lot of people were ostracized because of getting it, especially in the gay communities, for instance, and some other communities too, the poor people and things like that. And so we should be kind to people that have the illnesses as well. And if we can do anything to alleviate their suffering, we should do so. If we know about techniques for them to get better, or at least improve a bit, or like I said, relieve the sort of symptoms, things like that, then we should share them with them, or put them in touch with people that do know, if possible. Also, people in prison, like criminals, whether they're in prison or not in prison yet, we shouldn't turn our backs on them, because there are opportunities for them to improve. It could just be to do with giving up their fears just for a few seconds even. I know when I used to do the prison chaplaincy for a short while in the USA, and for quite a while here in Australia, I think about 7.5 years, I visited a prison called Fulham Prison, which was minimum and medium security prison. So not maximum, even though I had visited maximum security prisons before. And so a lot of the people I met in there, when, I used to do meditation sessions and Q&As and just general counseling, either one-on-one or in groups. And a lot of the time they get relief just from having somebody to talk to, or somebody to talk to them in a positive way as a human being. Yes, they have done some bad things, some of them, some very bad things, I should say, some of them. Other ones not so bad, just lost in life, maybe drug taking, things like that. And so they get some relief from somebody going there and talking to them, like I said, about positive change, about accepting their faults, and also working away or giving them techniques on how to improve, how to release and diminish, you could say, these faults, get better qualities mentally, and then, of course, in our physical actions and words too. So that's what I noticed with that. I used to have 6-hour days, so they were quite long days. It was 2 to 2.5 hour drive from where I am. And so maybe 11 to 12-hour days, actually, every time I went, every 2 weeks. But I found it very good for my practice as well. But also because it was doing some good, then I kept doing it for all that time. But after some time, it became too much, the travel and everything. Okay. But if you get an opportunity to talk just informally to people that have either been in prison or look like they could be going to prison, then do so. Okay. And people's attitude too. Some people may just have a really bad attitude. Maybe that can be like a light to a moth. Maybe if you see someone with a bad attitude, you can help them to undo this bad attitude, if at all possible. Don't turn your back on these people that are marginalized in society. But like I said, if you're not ready yet to face them, if you don't think or you don't have the confidence that you think you can help them, then just from in your mind, have this nice feeling towards them, wish that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, that they find happiness and the causes of happiness, and that they find peace, just like we do in the loving kindness meditation. Okay, so you can do it mentally if you're not ready to do it in a physical and verbal type way. So we'll repeat. People that have been marginalized, perhaps because of their behavior and actions, appearance, destitution, illness, maybe because of being in prison or being criminals of some sort, or because of their attitude. If we are true practitioners of bodhicitta, we must take special care of these types of people. Like when we meet them, it's like we have found a precious treasure. So when we meet people like this, rather than getting really irritated or even feeling fearful, be cautious, of course, but give up the fear. Instead of feeling like that, realize that they are a precious treasure. Even if you just look at it in the beginning from your own practice point of view, they help you to give up your bias, your attachment, your aversion, and any feeling that you're better than them, any pride that could give rise to arrogance, and all of the other negative emotions that this pride can give rise to. So I think we'll leave it there for today, and hope you've enjoyed the class. And I think maybe 30 seconds or something to go. So I rejoice in your goodness. I rejoice in your efforts to study the Dharma, to contemplate the Dharma, practice the Dharma. And I rejoice in your efforts to attend this class, of course, to participate in our Zoom class. I look forward to seeing you all next week, whether you're participating live or whether you view the video later. I rejoice in your merits always. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo